Hello to all you guys out there on YouTube land. Yes, it's me, DR, coming with another DRVlogs. This time on a subject that, I don't know, I'm interested in. I don't necessarily know how many other people are going to be interested in. But today we're going to be talking about that, the second largest manufacturer of mobile phones in China, ZTE. Now, what am I vlogging about today? And as you've noticed, I keep moving around. There's a massive great door behind me. Woohoo! Anyway, what am I vlogging about today? So, one of the things that really kind of interests me for various different reasons is the recent announcement by the mobile phone giant, the second largest manufacturer in China, ZTE. Now, for anyone who doesn't know this, and I'll give you some background behind their announcement, they've recently just cancelled what they call their Project Hawkeye, which I think has got another kind of set of initials attached to it, CSX, I believe, but it's Project Hawkeye. So let's give you some background. So what ZTE did before all this started is they said to the public, they said, hey, you guys know what you want, so how about you come up with some ideas for a mobile phone? And that was basically Project CSX or Project Hawkeye. So they said, you come up with ideas, you give them to us, and the winner of these ideas will make that phone. We'll make that phone. And the winner of the ideas out of all selection, out of the public vote, was a concept around eye movement. I think that Samsung had already done this with the S5. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I had my S5, that didn't really work. The eye movement didn't work. It was buggy. It was inconsistent, so I hardly ever used it. And also, one of the other ideas that came out of Project CSX, or whatever it's called, Project Hawkeye, was that they were going to have their phones were going to have the ability to stick onto walls somewhere. So you'd be able to stick your mobile phone, like Spider-Man, onto a wall. Now, I'm not going to judge the credibility of these ideas, but it always worries me in one part when a major manufacturer goes to the public. Now, some people like this. Some people say, wow, that's brilliant. They're coming and getting our opinion. We're going to get what we want. But actually, individuals, we know what we want, but as a group, when you canvass group opinion, it tends to start getting messy. That's why democracy isn't a simple thing. Because I might get what I want, but there's always going to be a load of people that, when you've asked them, now reject the premise because it wasn't what they wanted. So, for example, let's take something very simple that we all know that's in everybody's lives, MP3 players in some shape or format. Now, before the iPod, there were MP3 players everywhere. Everyone had a brand. I had an iRiver MP3 player. But actually, people didn't get into it until Apple put an advert which basically said to someone in almost explicit terms, this thing enables you to carry your music collection around with you. And then people loved it. If you'd have canvassed for people's opinions, they probably would have given you a Walkman rather than an MP3 player, because it was one of those things that people really didn't know what they wanted until it was kind of spelt out in simple terms, and then they went, oh yeah, that's brilliant. I find it the same way with books. There's loads of people, I love a book, I love the tactile feeling of a book, but I see more and more people now shifting to ebooks, mainly because if you go on holiday, it's easier to carry around, 3 or 4 books with you in an ebook format than it is by actually carrying the books around. So we'll never lose books, but people are moving towards a different format because it's easy. But if you ask people what they wanted in the beginning, a lot of people actually said, look, I just want my books, I don't want to change. So that's another example where if you canvass people's opinions, you don't actually get what people want. You just get what people are aware of and what they want to stick to. You get people's habits rather than, an idea of the future. And I think companies with massive big research and development departments, part of the risk of that company and is taking the risk and not just going, taking the easy way out and saying, hey, Joe Public, what do you want? So that's kind of one part of it. So that happened. So what happened next? So what they then did was they said, well, you've come up with an idea. So instead of manufacturing this idea, they went onto Kickstarter and said, well, if you give us $199, in advance. When we deliver this phone, when we actually make it, you'll get a copy of this phone. And you might say, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with Kickstarter? Well, I've got another issue. I've got issues with large corporations kind of piggybacking onto Kickstarter and using it for their own ends as a way of getting out of the risk of manufacturing items. And I think we just have to be aware that we can perpetuate this. It's happening in the gaming industry at the moment. So anyone say, oh, what's the wrong part with that? Look at the gaming industry. Look at pre-orders. How many games have people pre-ordered and then they bought it and they've been rubbish? And that's the danger of these businesses going down this route. One, there's no research and development because they just ask us. Two, they end up being products that no one wants because this Kickstarter failed because actually the majority of people didn't want this, because who wants a phone that sticks on walls? I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but for me, I think who wants a phone that sticks on walls? And people voted with their pockets. So ZTE, admittedly, they've come out and they said it's a bad idea, we shouldn't have done this, etc., etc., etc. But it's just this worrying movement towards low risk and getting people to invest in things early and earlier and earlier before there's even a product to look at. And that's my concern. You might say, well, that's a minor concern with everything else that's happening. But just keep in mind that more and more what we buy into this idea that we're going to crowdfund for major development. I mean, if you really want to, knock yourself out. But just keep in mind that the more and more we head in this direction, the more and more risk that we take as individuals. Now, very fortunately, ZTE are actually giving people their money back, which I think is, I was going to say, I think it's really good, but actually applauding companies for doing what they should do is, it's a bit like the Sony versus Microsoft, where Microsoft said, well, there's a few things we're going to put on their Xbox One, and you won't be able to potentially trade games and so on and so forth. And Sony got a lot of plaudits just simply by not doing that, by just sticking with what happens at the moment. And I always find that a bit weird. Anyway, this was just a quick video about that. Tell me what you think in the comments. Write down your opinion. Do you think that this kind of movement towards crowdsourcing, loads of ideas, is a good thing? Do you actually think that more companies should approach us about what we want in products? Or are you a bit like me, where it's kind of the risk of the company? You have the expertise, you have the knowledge. I don't. You can ask me what I want, and I'll tell you I want a cheese bar on it. But then to ask someone what they want, and then to go, okay, we'll deliver it if you pay for it. I don't know. I find it. Maybe this is the way to go. As I said, you guys tell me in the comments. Give me a like, give me a subscription. Also, I'm going to ask people to share my videos with people they know, just so that actually I get more opinions. I'm really interested in, do you think I have a point, or do you think I'm just moaning over nout? Anyway, this is DR saying have a safe journey wherever you're heading, and peace out.